Good morning, everybody. Happy, awesome June weekend. I think June, Keith, if I haven't said it before, it might be my favorite month. I don't know yet. I might make it my favorite month and then see how July goes. But I love hot weather.
That's what I was thinking. That's a big deal to you, isn't it?
I just love it. And I love rolling with the windows down and going out at 9:30 at night with the dog in the front yard and it's warm outside. Man, life is good.
I love it. I love it. Well, I like June. I think Houston, Texas taught me I like every month. When I lived in Houston, I thought I missed the leaves changing, I missed the snow, and I just loved coming back to Indiana. I can almost go Jim Neighbors on you.
We have a hard 4 seasons. It's pretty cool.
But the cool thing about them, they're only 90 days. Like 90 days is just not that long.
No, it's long enough to like you can kind of get comfortable with it, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
And you're ready. I think I'm ready for the. I mean,
I'm never ready
springtime
for summer to end.
Well, springtime's that way for me.
And I
I'm
love
like
fall.
yeah,
but
so
I'm never ready for summer.
yeah, springtime is that for me. I maybe I'm supposed to be in San Diego. I don't know. Probably not. Well, is that a long enough disclaimer there? Again, this weekend, be careful on the boat ramp.
Yeah, the disclaimer is hey, we have opinions, and those opinions are dangerous. It's risky out there. And so Keith and I, we have opinions. We love to talk about our opinions. We are opinionated.
I don't know how you could be a stockbroker and not be opinionated.
We're opinionated in a lot of ways on life. It doesn't necessarily mean we know we're right or we think we're right. We have a way of seeing the world that can be communicated.
Well, I think it goes to an old saying. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. And when I was a man, I put away childish things. And when I considered that old saying, I went back to the idea of, you know what children do is they speak before they think. And then thinking is just, I believe thinking is just the impulse of a thought that crosses your head that you have to process. But reasoning is taking that thought the next mile and going back and forth. Sometimes reasoning involves throwing out an opinion so it can get kind of bantered back and forth. And unfortunately, I don't think our culture, there's a lot of people that have stopped that whole childlike thing. A child speaks before they think and says a lot of crazy things, and then they don't necessarily reason ever. And I think
there's a video of it now, and so you're hooked for the rest of your life.
Oh,
that's what you think. That's what you think or tempted to think.
Oh man. And so the idea of thinking better has to start with the idea that I have an opinion, and that opinion could be wrong. And in our culture today, I think that people are being tempted to not have opinions.
Yeah, and just it's dangerous to have one.
Well, I was asked to speak later this month to a group of people, and they're young people, and I told them before I come and speak with you, I require you read this book. And I told you what book it is?
No.
Yeah,
what book is it?
I sent them all a copy of it in advance of me coming, and if they don't read it, they can't join the conversation. But the book is The Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah, we were having this discussion over the weekend.
Yeah. If you've not read the book, I'd add it to. I'd say
you can just go on the Google, and I think there's a free version, and you can read it like the snap of a finger.
Yeah, and I think it like it needs to be on everybody's reading list, lifetime reading list. If you haven't ever read it, just consider it. It's really good. But that's kind of the thing. You need to have an opinion. If the little kid didn't have an opinion there, we wouldn't have had the book, because they'd all be worshiping a naked king. So that's what's going on.
I listened to I don't know if it's a podcast or it was a video thing, and they were talking about shoes. And Keith was asking me today, He said, what kind of shoes do you have on, Doug? And do any of you own these type of shoes where like it has a humongous heel to them? And this one, it appears to have that, but these are really, I guess the thing now is a big humongous heel, like you're walking on a squishy cloud. And in capitalism, the greatest thing is there's all these businesses out there. And so I was listening to the stock market show, and they were talking about all the different types of shoe manufacturers.
Really?
Yeah, that are out there, and the competition for your money in between those shoes. And they were talking about specific brands. And I have a few of these shoes that they were talking about that I don't have the one that everyone agreed was the most comfortable.
Was that the Hoka or what was it?
It was not the Hoka.
On Cloud?
So the On Cloud got bad remarks from these guys.
Wow.
And so here you can have a great company and a bad stock. Okay. You can have a not so good company and a great stock. And so, these things do not equal each other, but they were talking about On Cloud specifically. It has been a great stock. I haven't looked at it like seriously in a while, but they were talking, yeah, stock's been fairly decent. But all these guys said, do your On Clouds squeak? And
Really?
I have a pair of On Clouds. I haven't noticed they squeak, but they are definitely not my favorite shoe.
Okay.
I think they're the favorite amongst people who live in Carmel.
Oh,
Like
okay.
if you have a Labradoodle, you are required to have a set of On Clouds.
Now,
And,
Doug, you live in Carmel.
and I have a Labradoodle. But the number one shoe these guys all said, which I thought was hilarious, Skechers.
Oh,
They
well,
said throw on a pair of Skechers, and like they're the most comfortable shoe.
can I show you something that I won't show our friends
Yeah.
because you don't like to talk about look at this. What does this say to you? Look at that. Isn't that fun?
Can we show that?
I don't know. You want me to show that?
Let's just show it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, look, here's the disclaimer. Don't go buy this. Here's why you don't want to go buy this. Number one, this is not a recommendation. And number two, don't go buy this because you don't know when you would sell this. That would be my like heartfelt recommendation to you. Compliance folks would love to have a full line of disclaimers here, but the reason you don't go buy this is because you don't know when you're going to sell this. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, some reason, maybe it was your shoes that made me pull up Deckers Outdoors. If you're not familiar with Deckers Outdoors, they became famous with the kind of shoe. You know what shoe made them really famous?
I don't.
Uggs.
Okay, cool.
And guess what I have sitting right here
You
beside
got
the
a
desk?
pair of Uggs?
Look at that.
That's
That's a big shoe right there.
That's a warm yourself up by the fireplace and look at some stock charts.
Yeah, baby. Those are me when it gets a little cold at Gimbal Financial. They sit here year round. I don't wear them this time of the year, but about February I might have those bad boys on. But yeah, that's the manufacturer of the UGG. And I started noticing, me personally, because I'm a geek and I watch stocks. And over here, this would have been back in October. I was like, what did they do? And look what this stock did, Doug.
Do you know what they did?
Hoka, I think is theirs.
Okay.
Yeah. Should we double check that before we mislead them?
Fascinating thing about this is we're talking shoes, right? I mean, this is not semiconductors. This is not some type of telecom. This is not a fintech product. We're talking shoes here. The people of Holland would be happy. Yeah, look at that. That's a nice lineup.
They got UGG. I don't even know what Koolaburra by UGG. They got Hoka, Teva, and Sanuk. Do you know Sanuk?
I've seen those, but I don't know them.
They got to be cool. That's the Hoka.
So one of our mentors in the stock world was Neil. He loved to talk about how oftentimes retail stock, cutting edge, trendy, what's cool type stuff really does move the market. And I think the trend for the longest time was what are the kids doing? Now one of the trends is, hey, what are the baby boomers doing? What are the older Gen Xers doing? Why? Because they got money.
Yeah. Well, it's, on that Decker's chart there, that stock went from 600 to 1,000 in 60 days or so. And you know, we've been talking about, whoops, what did I do? Hopefully you guys didn't, we've been talking about a local company that went, that's gone up nicely. It's gone up from 600 to 800. So
Gosh, hey, talk about that blue real quick. There's a lot of blue on the right side of that chart up top.
I'm not sharing it. You want me to share this?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought they were sharing. My bad.
Yeah, so this is a local company.
Don't go buy this one. Why, friends?
Because we're not going to tell you on this show when to sell it.
There you go.
Yeah, and so again, this stock has done kind of what we were showing with Deckers, and it's kind of giving you this trend right here.
All that blue that I see, I mean,
When you talk about blue, you're not talking about the background, you're talking about the buying down here in the volume, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in everyone's eyes, including mine, always start with the price, which are those vertical lines up top underneath Keith's red line that he drew. But so those prices have been going up, and that looks great. But like Keith highlighted and said, the volume, just the number of buyers who have been coming in, it's just been unreal. And so
Yeah.
that stock is outperforming 95% of the S&P 500.
And let's see what how
And its
that,
competitors are not.
and Deckers that we were just looking at is doing 96%, and that's trended down. Their 96% is down from where it was just before this little sell-off that's going through. But yeah, the other thing about this screen, what my friend Patrick taught me, is if I make my background blue, it's better and safer for my eyes. So that's
right.
That's why that background's blue, friends. Anything else we need to talk about these guys?
Now, I know we didn't plan any of this discussion, but it's been fun.
It's really fun because the idea of me knowing anything stylish, like knowing about OnCloud or Hoka, has nothing to do with my personality, with my designer outfits, but everything to know that I spend a good amount of time studying the market and knowing what's happening in the retail market, even just as a function of me studying the market. So it's kind of crazy.
In your opinion, might be that those Hokas are not the deal. And that's the greatest thing about being in the marketplace and living in America, where you have freedom to choose Skechers or Hokas or bare feet, whatever you want to do.
Well, we said we always have an opinion, right? And when you look, I'm going to try to shrink this thing a little bit to give you all a better view of this. I'm on the wrong. There we go. So these are the blue lines. Is that Sharon? Yeah.
Are you guys seeing a stock chart?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So these blue lines right here are the lines Doug was talking about right here. And this is a daily chart. Okay. And so each line is a single day in the stock market. And what I think is really interesting is on this particular day where my line is coming through here, this green line is going through, and it was a down day in the market. 8.2 million shares changed hands that day, changed from one person owning to another person owning that. And it wasn't necessarily 8.2 million opinions.
Right.
It was a good number of opinions. There had to be a buyer and a seller, and those are two different opinions. And so as long as there's always a buyer and seller, there's an opinion, no matter what kind of 1984 craziness goes on in our culture, where you're kind of often told you're not supposed to have an opinion. We think opinions are good. We just don't always share opinions with everybody else.
And we change them.
That's the good thing about not being a child anymore, that you can reason through your thoughts and get better opinions. Gosh, I wouldn't.
Can I throw an opinion out there again?
Well, I was gonna say I wouldn't even want to go back and look at my opinions when I was an 18-year-old. But go ahead, yeah.
So this week, the Fed made an announcement and I don't watch stock market TV. I used to be glued to that, like CNBC, I think it was. Squawk Box, is that even still a thing?
I don't watch any of it either, so I don't know.
Um,
I'm so old. I watched Louis Rukeyser and
Wall
Paul
Street.
Kangas.
Paul Kangas was my favorite.
You guys will have to Google those names. If you don't
Nightly
know.
Business Report.
Yes,
Is that what it
yeah.
was?
He was like a grandfather
And he
figure.
would always sign off, wishing you the best of goodbyes. That's what he was saying every
You
time.
can YouTube that.
But yeah, so I'm guessing that the stock market shows, the ones that are meant to sell advertising, I don't know that that's even an opinion. That's just what it is.
Right.
They are made, they're designed to sell advertising. And so they speak to the emotions of your earth suit to get you jacked up. I'm guessing this past week that they were chatting pretty heavily about the Federal Reserve and if they're going to increase rates, if they're going to lower rates, if they're going to keep things the same. And I even got a couple calls like, hey, what's going to happen? I said, you need to go outside and live your life. And so I love to just track, I call it just a general market check, a market pulse. And we talk about these things on this show often. We talk about what's the S&P 500 doing, the NASDAQ, smaller stocks, smaller company stocks. And occasionally we'll go over like, hey, what's the bond market look like? Or what does the money market look like? And money market's just a souped up savings account, basically, with some other risks. But I wrote this down, Keith. This week, a 13-week treasury would be, and that's a very short-term investment, is still paying 5.2%. And it's been there for a long time. Okay. Back when we moved from LPL to Fidelity, when we switched our back office support people, interest rates were paying diddly squat. And now they're rewarding the saver. That's been really encouraging. But the 10-year and the 5-year treasuries are right around 4.2. So they're paying less than the short-term stuff. And they've actually been going down. And so what I'm going to leave you with, in case you're one of those people watching the sensational stock market TV type stuff, is I just want to encourage you that not a whole lot has changed. And Keith and I don't know where this thing's going. We got some opinions on it. We have some opinions on what influences it and what the head fakes are. But the best thing you can do is keep calm and just listen to the stock market. Let it direct you. And then you can react the best you can. And you can have some things thought out, like, well, if it does this, I'm going to do that. And that's what we get paid to do for you.
And we love it.
Yeah, we do love it.
It's one of those principles on the back of my card that I put on there is buy wisdom. And I think our wisdom continues to increase as we serve you more. I don't say that in an arrogant way. I just think that part of wisdom is from life's experiences, and this market has taught us tons over the years. And I'm less afraid of the market than I've ever been, and that's not out of ignorance, but that's out of some mathematical principles that we use on your behalf, and we think it's the best solution we know of to serve you in an honorable way.
Yeah. I messaged you this morning and said, hey, what do you want to talk about today? Yet last week we spoke a bit about our grandfathers and their influences on our life. What do you want to, when I ask Keith a question, I don't know what I'm going to get back. As a matter of fact, if I get something back, I don't know if it's what I think I got back. And so let's just clarify your opinion.
Well, my opinion is, I think a financial principle is being a dad could be one of the greatest financial decisions ever for a lot of reasons. Probably don't have time on this show to say why.
Yeah.
Being a dad creates some of the most intense responsibilities I've ever felt. That's not even a word I use. Yeah.
Keith,
yeah.
What side of the brain is that?
I don't know. Those of you that know me, I don't use that word. but when Connie and I got married, I wanted that many children, and we ended up with that many, and it just taught me so much. But in the midst of that, I had to formulate some opinions on what kind of dad I'm going to be and what I think are important characteristics of a dad, because that's what I had to be. And it wasn't a passive, I'm going to let you tell me what to be, as I had to choose what I was going to be. And I made some bold decisions in that process that would, I think some of them even risk lives. Like some of the decisions I made risk physical lives. And so I think what I was thinking, since it's Father's Day weekend, I think being a father is such an important decision for your children. It's an economic decision. I think being a assertive, opinionated dad affects even the ability of your children to even manage money, is what I think.
I'm not sure who pointed this out to me, if it was a book or a friend or a video, something I watched, but it was replacing the word proud with my kids to inspired. And to be inspired by our kids is a pretty amazing thing. It's an economic thing, because when I looked in the eyes of my son for the first time, I was pretty inspired to like get on with it in life, and let's go big for his sake and for his future, and that leads to being courageous, and that leads to living dangerously at times, or perceived danger, and it means going for it, and that's what being a dad has done for me. I'm at the place now, and you're there, where I've released one of those arrows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm trying to grab it back at times. That's a bad plan. We have a client or some type of relationship where a dude shot a hole through his hand with an arrow. Not good. So don't reach for your arrows once they've flown. Just encourage them to fly. But yeah, being a dad, I think from an economic standpoint, it creates inspiration.
I think it really, I think unashamedly, I would say that masculinity is at risk in our culture today. And I think as a dad, one of the things I had to teach my son was masculinity and what that really looks like versus all the ideas our culture is trying to say about it. But a masculine man is a big deal. Yeah, and I know you're raising 4 men, and it's hard to help them maintain a masculine outlook on the future.
I'd have to reread Wild at Heart. It's been a little while. That's a good book, John Eldridge.
I was just trying to find the name of that book.
Oh, were you right?
I told Amanda that I think this week I told her that I would encourage her, if she's going to have a boy, to read that book. I mean, I didn't make Connie do anything. As a couple, I've never really forced her to do anything, but I just said, you need to read this book to understand our son.
Caroline read it as well. And when you read something, you may not, you can pick up several things, and it might be the wrong thing. And the first time I read that book, it wasn't long after that I started hunting, and I bought a motorcycle. That's the wrong message of that book. Yeah, that's like what the world tells you a man is. But the book goes a little deeper than that. I just wasn't ready to hear it out yet. So I've had to reread that book a couple of times. My brother Will and we've read it twice.
I love that. I can't remember if I told you the podcast I was watching or listening to last week, but the man that was speaking in the podcast had a non-man as a father figure in his life, and his mother had repeatedly brought new men into the house to kind of be a phantom father in his life. And this one particular one, she changed the son's name to this fellow's name. Did I tell you the story?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what he said on that podcast that really rocked my world is he was trying to honor his father and mother. He as an adult had the option to change his name to something else, and he opted to not do that, but he just had just a horrible experience with this man. And he said, the only way I can honor my mother and father is to make that man the father of a great man. I thought, dang, that's a manly man right there.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I had, you know, when you get one of these things, you know, these cards, man, those are hard. This was a couple, they buried their second son in 12 months this week. And I sat and listened to that man just express love for his son. And when I was thinking about his son, he had made some mistakes that had affected the longevity of his body, but who doesn't, right? We were just talking about fried chicken this week, or you could pick whatever. And this man was in the Navy, and I thought, what? There's a description in some old writings about mighty men of valor, and anybody that would take that kind of decision at such a young age, it's probably a mighty man of valor. And just thinking about that dad walking through that season of life, that's some real masculinity, walking through the process of both of those sons and watching them. It's just, that father is a hero to me from just that kind of action. Is just what I've learned about being a dad, husband, dad, is you just got to do the difficult things. You can be the backstop or not, I guess, but I think the masculine decision is to be the backstop in those difficult times. Who's going to take the dog to the vet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be the backstop by being getting hit,
Yeah.
or you can just be approachable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is it's a big deal. It's yeah, I'd say that's probably created as much emotional ponderings of anything. I mean, I've involved you in some of these decisions. You're like, really? You want me to do that? I'm like, I think it's the best decision. It's probably not the safest decision, but it's the right decision, I think. And we're in a culture where everybody wants safety. And I don't think as a dad you can choose the safe decision.
The dad decision I made today.
Uh-oh, let's hear it.
Well, here, I made this about an hour ago. Is I asked one of our kids to take himself off of Live 360.
No more creeping.
So I'm talking like a 2024 thing, dads. Is independence. You got this. Go for it.
Yeah, man. That's a hard thing to
This
say.
was the kid, I didn't put him on Live 360. He put us on it. He wanted us on. I said, no more.
Yeah.
We're off. You're off.
Yeah. Well, we are at a point where they have flown back. In case you don't know Life 360, I think it's a really reasonable app. They've flown back into Life 360. All of ours are there. And it actually grades your kids driving, which is really hilarious. And if you scroll down, it gives you a grade on it. And so one of mine,
I'm sure no one's watching that.
yeah, I didn't notice it until I saw.
I mean like insurance companies.
Oh yeah. No, a lot of people are watching it. So, but they don't have to worry about it anyway. Like your grandkids aren't going to get to drive a car anyway. Tesla's going to drive it for them, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's on.
Hey, I would encourage you this weekend as Father's Day rolls around, do something adventurous to honor all the fathers out there. Do something cool to honor the grandfathers or great grandfathers that have had an influence on you, and realize that today's the day that you can make the change. If you didn't necessarily have that great father or that great mother that did that for you, you can honor them by making them the parent of a great person. I think that's just about the best thing we can tell you all day today.
That's cool.
See you guys soon.